Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at Abduction Victim to Survivor. We are so excited today to have as our guest Violaine. I met Violaine, I think it was either 98 or 99 when Violaine came to Team Hope training. She had a deep desire to help other people. And that's the reason she joined Team Hope. It was very beginning of the program. She was still missing her son and still searching for him when she came. And the one of the very emotionally beautiful things that happened when Violaine came to the training was that Sarah was also there for another project going on of adults who were abducted as children. And we we both had the opportunity to meet Sarah and some other wonderful, very courageous, brave people. And Violaine was emotionally struck by being with Sarah. And I'm going to let Sarah continue this introduction and tell about that experience.
Yes, likewise, Violaine. Um, I was struck by how much pain you were in at the time. You were very clear about it. It was easy to see on you. And at the time I was struggling with connecting with my mother and not feeling. I felt very guilty. I felt very responsible for my mother's pain, and it was something I was working on at the time. And so seeing the raw pain in you and knowing that what I was saying, the words that I was saying, how I was explaining my perspective as a child who was abducted, how that was affecting you. We were both affecting each other, and it was very powerful, and I never forgot that. And I've followed you over the years. I know that you're going to tell us the story that of reconnecting with your son eventually, but it's a story of a tremendous amount of pain, and and that pain, and having the pain of abducted children and parents who are victims of abduction. It's very hard sometimes for us to see each other's pain and to understand one another. And that's one of the goals that I have for this podcast, for us to talk to one another and listen and feel one another and have the hearts come together i- in a way that on that day when we saw each other, that we were both in pain for different reasons in many ways. Well, for the same reason in so many ways, but coming from very different perspectives. And now, as a parent myself, and with the passage of time, I'm really just so honored that we can look at all that, and with this opportunity, give understanding and give insight to others who are going through this, and to ourselves, and learn and grow from this ourselves. So it's beautiful. And I just want us to explain what Team Hope is for our listeners who don't know what that is.
Well,
Yeah.
Team Hope is a volunteer based peer support network with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Um, Everyone in Team Hope, including the staff, I had been the director, have had or still have a missing or sexually exploited child. And then we reach out to other people over the phone and provide the emotional support and help them through this horrible journey. Um, but I wanted to add, because I don't think I said this in the beginning, that Violaine is in France, and so this is pretty exciting. I haven't, and Sarah hasn't. We haven't seen Violaine since, I guess, 2000 2001, when she moved back to France. So Violaine, we're honored to have you with us today, and I think that you said that you would like to start your story on the day of the abduction. So please help us understand what happened to you and your son.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you,
Yeah.
Sarah. I'm honored to be here. And yes, I'm talking to you from Paris.
Yes.
I'm a French citizen. Well, I'm also a US citizen now. My name is Violaine. And at the time, it was 1994. I was married to a Lebanese guy. We had a little boy called Ryan, born in 1991. And we moved to Arizona to work for my brother in law, who had a company, a marketing company. We moved in December, and on February 11th, 1994, I came back to work and the apartment was empty. My husband had left with Ryan. He has emptied all the bank accounts, took my passport, and because I just arrived, I didn't have my green card yet or my work visa. And I was stuck in the US, and I immediately understood what happened because he was threatening me for years. Mm, Yeah, years. He was not working. I was, working and earning the money. And every time I was complaining or pushing him to go to work and do something with his life, he was threatening to take the child and go away. So that day I understood immediately what happened, and I tried to call, of course, no response. So that was the beginning of the nightmare because Lebanon is not an easy country to deal with. And I was totally lost, So I'll try to make it short because it's a very long story. There has been two abductions in reality, and so what I did, to make it short, I finally got in contact with him, and he was demanding that I join them in Lebanon and lived with them in Beirut. Of course, I didn't want to do that because once in Beirut, I would be totally stuck, and the law in Lebanon was not in my favor. While if I stayed outside of the country, I could fight, with lawyers, so I took contact, and the first idea was to visit my son to make sure that he was good. He was 2.5. He was abducted a few, I think, two weeks before his third birthday. Yeah, and it took 9 months, but we finally organized a visit in Lebanon, and I went there with my parents. The idea was to actually, well, I'm going too fast because what happened is that I took a lawyer, of course. I asked for divorce, and one day the lawyer this lawyer called. He didn't call me. He sent me by fax an article from a newspaper who was talking about a woman that was just coming back from Tunisia, and she had re-abducted, if I can say so, her son from Tunisia by boat by going through Lampedusa. The article was saying that, and that was the name of that girl, and it was saying that she was living in California. And I took the yellow pages, I opened them, and I called, and she answered. And it was like a miracle because she told me, "Oh, I just got in my. I still have my suitcases. I just just got from back from Tunisia." And I said, "I need the name of the guys who helped you." So she gave me a name. I called the guy. I met him in Las Vegas. He asked me for $5,000, and Las Vegas is the only town in the U.S. where you can get $5,000 in 10 minutes without question. So that was great. And then he gave me another name. I called the guys, and we started, talking about taking my son back to the U.S. So in the meantime, I took contact with my husband, and I played like if I wanted to come back to Lebanon and fill his request to live there. So I went there in November with my parents, but it was I went there once with my parents. When it was November, October, I don't remember exactly, and to how do we say that in English? I wanted to see the context, where my son was going to school, where was the apartment. I wanted to check his schedule. I needed all this information for the guys who were planning to take my son back. So I made one trip with my parents. I said to my husband that, okay, I will come back to live to Lebanon, but I had some, issues to solve before I could move. I came back to France, and I went back there without saying nothing to him. And we, I met the guys, and we took Ryan back um, through
By
Israel.
boat? By
No,
boat?
through
No.
Israel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. At that time, the south border was closed. There was absolutely no passage between Lebanon and Israel. But I had a lot of contacts. It had been planned. I can't tell you all the details. It would be really long. And I crossed the borders with a general who died since. So there's no problem of talking about him. And once in Israel, they took my passport to make a stamp on it, because I crossed the border totally illegally. And the next day, I went with the driver to Tel Aviv, and I bought flight tickets in cash, and I flew back to Paris. It was a big problem between France and Lebanon. I mean, the consul was taken very brutally out of the consulate by the chief of the Druze community where my husband belonged, and it created like a diplomatic incident between France and Lebanon. I didn't give a shit, to be
Because of what happened?
son, and I didn't care at all. But the Ministry of
Good.
Foreign Affairs,
Yeah.
they were all calling, "What did you do? And now we're in trouble," and blah blah blah. And what did your blood is not happy? Well, what the fuck?
You got your kid, you got your boy back.
Yes.
So I flew back to the US, and I was really, really happy. It cost us a lot. I mean, the guy, they asked for a lot of money. And then when I was back, he called me again, and he said, "Well, okay, that's great. You have your son now. Can we talk about money?" And I said, "Well, we sent you 70,000 already. That, you know."
Wow.
And in fact, the guy that I met in Las Vegas, he flew with the money, and the other one who did the job never got the money.
Oh, wow.
He has been conned. And I told him, "I'm sorry, but I have nothing left. I mean, it's not me who paid it. It's my brother-in-law." But anyway, I'm telling you that because when Ryan was abducted for the second time, I came back to see that guy. And he took his revenge. He asked me, "Well, this time it's going to be 300,000 payable in advance."
How
My
much did
300,000.
my
dollars.
gosh.
So obviously, I couldn't do the same plan as the first time. But, well, it worked once only. So I lived with Ryan about 3 years in the States, and one day I was driving him to school, and suddenly a guy appeared in front of the school and throw me papers, saying, "You've been served." So I was very surprised, and in 2 seconds before I could read the paper, I realized what happened. Two other guys came out of a car, grabbed Ryan, put him in the car, and they left. They left, and Ryan was absolutely crying. He was absolutely, totally terrified. At the point, and I was grabbing him, so there was a little fight at the point that his father, who was in the car, finally got out of the car saying, "Ryan, it's daddy, don't be afraid." And I was so surprised. Well, anyway, four guys, his lawyer, a female lawyer, and me alone in front of all these people. They left, and I couldn't do nothing. So that was the second abduction, and it was October 17th, 1997.
And how old was Ryan at that point? I'm sorry.
How old he was? He was 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah, the first time I saw him in Lebanon when he was after the first abduction, he did not recognize me. He was 3.5, and because I had changed my hair, he looked at me and he asked his father. There was a picture on the furniture, and he asked his father, "Is it the same mom than in the picture?" And his father had
Oh,
to say yes for him to come to me. And but from that point, I mean, he was hanging to me every day, all the time.
for those 3 years that he was with you? You mean
No, for
or
a few days I was in Beirut. Uh, so this time he was 6.5, so he could not forget me. That was
yeah,
my point, because when they are abducted and when they're too young, I have a friend, her twins were 9 months when they were abducted, and now she saw them for the first time, they're 26.
26.
Yeah,
Wow.
and they're telling her, "You're not our mom. We don't
Yeah,
know you." I mean, that's horrible. But I
yes.
knew at that point that Ryan was 6.5, that he would always, remember me. And but I knew also that it would be another fight because I couldn't do twice the same. Oh, I loved you. I will come back to Beirut. Just show me his school. I want to be involved in his life. Give all the info to the right guys so that he can be taken back. My husband is not nice, but he's not completely an idiot, So this time, so the first time I didn't want to get involved in organizations of missing children because I didn't want to identify myself to these parents who were searching for years and years. It was above what could bear. It, and I was convinced that I could just get him back, by my own, and that's what I did. But the second time, I understood that he would not put Ryan back in the French school in Beirut, that he would not welcome me in Lebanon, and that it would be another fight at another level. So I started to get involved in all the missing children organization, to get support. First to get support because I was devastated, devastated. I really thought at one point to, finish with life because it was unbearable. And I ended up with Prozac for 5 years. It helps for what it takes, but it helps. So the second abduction, I was almost 3 or 4 years without any contact. I was very, very involved in all the organization, the American ones, but also I started to get in touch with the European ones and put them in touch so that we could form like a network, an international network. And I started to meet parents like me all over the world, and it's really it's really a good support. I mean, I remember those meeting of team hopes. Everybody was crying. There was, tissues all over the table. You
Yes,
remember, Abby? It was terrible,
yes,
but we had to let it out because.
yes.
Um, so what I did the second time is that I hired a lawyer in Lebanon. First one that was not good. After the first abduction, the first lawyer dropped me. He asked me for a lot of money before, and then he said, "Well, you've put a mess in Lebanon. I can't work I can't work for you anymore." So I asked a friend to advise me for another one, and frankly, it was not a lawyer; it was an angel. An angel. This guy worked for me all these years, never asked for 1 cent.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he was incredibly sweet and so we started with the legal procedures as usual. It's long, it's painful, it's a lot of paperwork, and one day, I'll make it short, after 4 years, he told me, "Okay, Violaine, what do you want? You want to have custody of your son, or you want to see him again? So I told him, but well, for me, it's linked. If I ask for custody, it's to be in touch with him and see him. He said, no, no. I mean, stop thinking of the French girl. You're in Lebanon here. It's not a country of, how do you say that? A country of law, of he told me, well, I can get custody of your son. We'll go to justice. You'll get a nice paper. It will never be enforced. Never. And your husband has the mean to, make it long, long, long until your son is 18 and he will have forget you. This is not the right way to approach the problem. But I can try to negotiate something so that you can visit him. And at that point, with all the nonprofit organization that I was working with and all the parents that I talked to and all the demonstration and everything, I was conscious that my son had reached an age where it was crucial that I establish contact. Because, after 4 years, when you're a small kid, and I didn't know what his father was telling him. I knew later that he was telling him that I have abandoned him, that I didn't love him anymore, but and I was suspecting something like that. But so I told my lawyer, okay, go ahead, do what you want is good. So he took contact with the other lawyer, and they negotiated like a treaty. So I had to drop custody in the three countries, America, Lebanon, and France. I had to stop working with NGOs, erasing everything that was on internet, all the flyers and everything. And with this, I would maybe be allowed to see my son under the supervision of the father if he wanted to, when he wanted to, for the time that he wanted to. I mean, this agreement that I signed was totally, in French, we have a word for that. It's léonin. It means that it's totally in favor of one of the party, and it's totally illegal. But my lawyer told me, you don't care. I mean, nobody will sign it in France because it's totally illegal. And the father is happy. His lawyer is happy. Just sign. Just sign. So I signed. And then I had to go to the French consulate to get it stamped. And they didn't want to stamp it, saying, well, this agreement is totally illegal. We can stamp it. I said, no, I'm not asking for your opinion, okay? I need a stamp. That's it. You stamp, and it's after that, it's my problem. I mean, these people were nice, but they were never very helpful. So I was just asking for a stamp. So we had this agreement, and in May 2001, I could go see my son for the first time since October 1997. So almost 4 years. I stayed there for, I don't know, a week or two, but I went there with a journalist. I mean, he was making a TV show on abduction, and because I didn't feel safe. Because of the first abduction, when I took my son back, there was a warrant for my arrest in Lebanon. So, and my lawyer was working on it, but I didn't feel very safe. So I stayed there a few days. It was, for me, seeing Ryan was just a joy. But it was also difficult because his father was not very helpful, and I had to leave pretty quickly after a week or two because I had to work. I had to do. I told Ryan that I would come back in summer, and we negotiated that I would come back in August for a month, and that's what I did. I went back to Lebanon for a month in August. Of course, I had to stay with them, you know, and his father wanted me to sleep with him, and there was, and I always said no. There were two beds in the room, and he said, well, you sleep with me and Ryan will sleep here. I said, no, I sleep with Ryan and you sleep alone in your bed. So, but I mean, the atmosphere was very heavy, and it was The second stay for 1 month, I have a horrible souvenir of it. It's at one point we were in the mountains and we were sitting around a table, and to this day, my son calls it the table of nightmare.
Oh,
His father made us miserable at the point that at one point I called my lawyer. I was crying and I said, "Come and get me. I can't stay here. It's going to kill me." And my lawyer was like, "Where are you?" "Well, I'm in Alai. It's in the mountain." And said, "Well, what are you doing there? It's too far from Beirut. You're alone with him. It's not safe." Well, uh, anyway, I had to come back to France and the States in September because I had my ceremony for to become a citizen.
ah,
Yeah. So, and his father took this excuse to say that I wasn't interested in my son, that if I was interested, I should have stayed in Lebanon longer. And after that, he cut again the contact for 2.5 years. So in the meantime, I decided to move back to France because organizing visits from France to Lebanon is pretty easy. I mean, it's a 4 flight. In France, you have a lot of vacation. From Phoenix, it was impossible. I mean, 10 hours of difference of time difference. Going by plane was like 24 hours, and the money to do that. So I came back to France. Also, I had met my future husband in
yeah.
Mexico during the summer before, and he was moving back to France too. So we moved back to France, both of us. My father was dying also, and there was a lot of circumstances which made me move back to France. And from there, so I had 2.5 years, negotiating visits, which never happened. In the meantime, I had written to all the judge. I had to say that I wasn't filing for custody anymore. That well, I had custody in the U.S. and in France. So my lawyer, my American lawyer, he's a sweet guy. I told him, I need a letter from you saying that I renounce custody and. So he said, "Well, I'm going to make you the letter, but that's all you need, a letter?" I said, "Yes." So he wrote the letter, and we never went to the judge, of course, to change the order of custody. Well, so once in France, I had to find a job. I was totally depressed. I mean, and negotiate visits. So from there, sometimes I could go 4 or 5 times a year to Lebanon, sometimes once, sometimes none. I was flying on Friday morning and staying with the family until Monday morning. I was not staying with them at night, but I was visiting my son in their apartment under their surveillance. There was a terrible ambience. I mean, the father was horrible. I, I thought I thought at first that Ryan was okay with his father, because it took me months, maybe years, to understand that he was acting. He told me after, because he was terrified by his father, absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
But when I worked there, he was like, "I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad." And then he would, put his headset and listen to music. And I was like, "Well, I'm coming from France visiting. He doesn't even, talk to me." But he was just staying in his universe because he didn't want to be between us. Um, his father, of course, never put him back to the French lycée in Beirut. Ryan was going to school in a very remote school in the mountains, and the director was one of the cousin of the grandfather of my, in the Lebanese side. So there was no way that I could do again what I did the first time, plan a reabduction. I don't like this word because I didn't abduct him. Okay, I just took him back. But there was no way. And at one point, I was so desperate that I thought, okay, he's not going to be able to come back before he's 18. So I started to tell Ryan, when you're 18, I mean, the French consulate knows you can go there and they will repatriate you to France. But I was at the point where I was, thinking that I would have to visit Lebanon every year for a long, long time. Because at first, after the 2.5 years without contact, the first contact were by phone, but the father was always on the phone. He was listening to what we were saying, so there was no really dialogue between my son and me. Also, he had forgot French. Luckily, we could speak English. He was in a English Arabic school, and along the way, his father got, I think, tired too, because I was calling very often. He was tired to be there and listen, and finally, we were able to talk only the two of us, and that's what I started to discover the truth. That in fact Ryan was miserable in Lebanon, miserable. He was terrified by his father. He had no friends because he was not allowed to go outside of the house. He was driven to school every day by a chauffeur with a bodyguard, with, of course, guns. Lebanon, everybody has guns. And he was taken back, same after school. He was never visiting friends. He never did, pajama parties like they do at that age. And he was just living at his grandparents' home with his father and his aunt. Uh,
Violaine, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Was this to protect him
yes,
from you taking him
yeah,
back? Right.
absolutely,
Okay. Just
absolutely,
wanted to
because
clarify
of the
that.
first,
Right. Wow.
first re-abduction that I did. Um, so slowly by slowly, I was able to talk to him on the phone. Then I was able to go visit in Lebanon and have some talks with him. And I realized that Rain was absolutely miserable in Lebanon. And that excruciated me. Because before that, at one point, I was thinking, okay, he's alive. I was in Team Hope, where parents had children assassinated, murdered, raped, and I always thought that I was the lucky girl in the group. And at one point, I thought, okay, he's alive. He lives with his father. He has a good education. Let's be patient and bet on his intelligence to one day come back to me. But then when I started revisiting and having conversations with him, and we exchanged a lot of emails also, and we chatted a lot on computers, I realized that Ryan was not happy at all, at all. So I was trying to support him. I remember one day I told him, "Why don't you tell Teta? Teta is it's grandma in Arabic. Why don't you tell Teta? She's nice with you. Maybe she can support you. Maybe she can talk to your father to be a little bit, more flexible with you." And Ryan was like, I don't know. And one day he went and he really opened to his grandmother. He told him everything, how he was feeling, and everything his father was doing to him. Because sometimes his father would take him for a drive in a car around Beirut for hours, and for hours he would say, "You're dumb. You're so ugly.
Oh,
Look at your mother. You're totally you're zero." He would bash him like this for hours. And Rain was down, 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 convinced that he was nothing, that he was not good at anything. So that day he opened to his grandmother. He told him, how he was feeling about that and everything. And you know what she did? She came directly to his father and told,
oh no.
yeah. And to that point, Ryan told me, I'll never talk to an adult again.
How old was he at that time?
He was, I think he would be 11 or 12, something like that.
So young. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, 12. Um, and I have everything on paper, but it's boxes in my cellar because I really don't want to relive all this
Of
again.
course.
But I have the dates, I have everything. But everybody told me write a book, but it would mean, live again through all this, and I really don't want that. So at that point, Ryan was really, really. I mean, he felt he had no support. You know, he was totally alone. Um, he was very. He had a very good friend, which was the son of my husband's lawyer. Nicky was his name. And at one point, my husband's lawyer dropped him because he realized that he was a con. This guy one day told me, you know what, Violaine? Um, how do you say that in English? He told me, I took the wrong client. His lawyer told me I took the wrong client. And one day
Oh,
I wrote and
I had that too. I had that too, Violaine, with my ex-husband's lawyer. Yes.
yeah, one day I was in Beirut. We had dinner together. He had dropped his husband for a while. And I was staying with a friend who was far from Beirut, and my plane was at 4 o'clock in the morning. So he told me, "So you're leaving tomorrow? How are you going to the airport?" I said, "I will take a cab." And he said, "No way! It's way too far. You're not gonna sleep all night. Come to my place, and I'll host you, and I'll take you to the airport." And he did, and he gave me his bedroom, and it's only when I woke up the next morning that I realized that he was in the middle of a divorce. His wife had taken all the furniture and he slept on the floor in the living room to leave me his bedroom with the.
Wow.
So the guy was nice, like most of the Lebanese people. He has a sense of hospitality, like in the Middle East, they are like that. Just to tell you that at that time, this lawyer supported my husband, and my husband cut the link between his son and my son, and they were best friends. And my son at one point had nobody to turn to. And why am I telling you that? It's later on in June of 2006. My Ryan fled from the house, and he went to Nikki's place. But of course, Nikki's father, even though he was not friend anymore with my ex-husband, couldn't keep him. I mean, he was a minor, he fled from home. So he took him back to his father. And
Oh,
that was the beginning of something because after that, or before that, I don't know, Ryan took some pills. He was really crying for help. And he asked me for the first time. He told me, "Mom, I want to go back to France and live with you." He never said that to his father. His father was asking regularly, "What do you want? You want to go with your mom? You want to live in France with your mother?" And Ren was also, "No, no, no, no. I'm really fine in Lebanon," because he was terrified. This time he told me, "I want to," and he said, "Be quick, Mom, because I'm not going to survive." No pressure. June 2006, I don't know if you remember, but in July, the war started in Lebanon.
yeah.
So I went there in June. That's when I talked to him and he told me, be quick because I won't survive. I come back to France with, I'm starting to think of a plan and everything, calling the consulate, saying he's a minor, he's French. If he managed to get to the consulate, will you do something? And then the war comes in Lebanon. So, but that was my chance because there were boats evacuating French people from Lebanon because of the war. So I called the consulate again and I said, okay, he's French, he's under 18. If he comes to your place, you have the obligation by law to send him back to France on your boat. They said, yes, yes, we can do that. So I planned another plan with a friend and with, I'm sorry, Sarah, but with the head of the Hezbollah, because they were the only one allowed in the area where my husband lived. And so she went there with two of these guys, and I had a call with my son. I said, okay, when everything is dark, when Teta is sleeping, because in the meantime, his father was working in Damas, Syria. He was not in Lebanon anymore. So Ryan was alone with his parents. So I told him, you get out of the house, and in the street, down the building, there will be a car waiting for you. I gave him the name of my friend that he knew. She will be waiting for you, and she will drive you to the consulate, and they won't put you on a boat. So Ryan was like, yeah, but the door is closed. I don't have the key. So where is the key? In Teta's pocket, a wardrobe, I said, well, and you wait until she sleeps, you take the key and you get out. I mean, the car will be right down the building. I was in Phoenix, 10 hours of time difference. And so I was waiting. I was on the phone for hours. I can tell you how much I paid the phone bill, calling my friend, trying to call Ryan, and no news and no news. At 4 o'clock in the morning, Beirut time, my friend told me, Ryan is not here. We've been waiting for hours. He's not here, and we have to go because they will bomb again. The bombing was at night and starting again at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I was so worried. So it took 2 days before I had news from Ryan. In fact, his father showed up in the middle of the night and took him to Damas. The only persons who knew what I was planning were the person from the French consulate. So guess who told my husband? I mean, there's no other way. I mean, or somebody heard the girl in the consulate on the phone, and I know he has spies everywhere, but anyway, Ryan was 40 kilometers away from Damas in a military camp. Okay, the name of the guy he was staying with was Jami al-Jami, which was the commander, the chief of the secret services of Syria in Lebanon for years. He was a friend of my ex-husband, and Ryan was staying with them. So he stole the phone of the general, in fact, and called me and said, Mom, I'm in Syria, I'm in Damas, I'm with this person. Daddy he showed up in the middle of the night. He took me to Damas. So it's not far, it's like 120 kilometers. There's big mountains to cross, but it's not far. Damas, Beirut, it's not in summer. In winter, you can't do it because of the mountains. Anyway, so I started planning another plan, with people. Okay, he's not in Lebanon, he's in Syria. I called the consulate in Damas. I called the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in France. What can we do? Blah, blah, blah. And finally, with the help of friends, they told me, okay, if he can manage to go to the consulate, we'll evacuate him. Well, they did not say that, but it's the law. They have to because he's a minor. There were two kids from Holland in the consulate of Netherlands at that time that were waiting to be evacuated. That's how I got the idea. So I told Ryan, 40 kilometers, it's about 8 hours walk. So at night, when they sleep, you go, you start walking, you hike, each hike, and when you get to the consulate, they have to take care of you because you're French and because you're a minor. Okay, but there are bars at the door and bars. So I said, you go through the window. No, there are bars at the window. Of course, he was in a military camp. And we were exchanging with a phone that his father finally gave him. And he was erasing all the messages along the way because he thought it was safe like that. But we were so naive. The night he was supposed to go, his father showed up again because he had a copy of the phone. He was reading, in fact, all the messages that we were exchanging. Well, it's a very long story. I want to make it short. What happened is that he showed up and he was so angry that he hit Ryan. There was a big fight, and the general came and interfered, saying, "Okay, what's happening here?" And so my ex-husband was, out of himself. I don't know if we say that in English, and he was yelling at Ryan, "What do you do? Do you want why you found?" Well, anyway, there was a big fight, and then the general came and said to Ryan, "Okay, Ryan, were you trying to flee? What are you trying to do, and what do you want?" And for the first time, Ryan had the courage to say, "I want to go live in France with my mother." And then the general that I was so against said to my ex-husband, "He's almost 15, and if he wants to go live with his mother, you cannot prevent him to do that." He's the guy who saved us. He's dead.
Wow.
He's dead, but I can give his name. So what happened? I had no idea of what was happening. I was in Paris. I was totally freaking out. I was at work the next day at the canteen, and I got a call from my ex-husband, which I didn't have contact for months. So I said, "Hello," and he was like, he didn't say hello, how are you? Nothing. It was like, do you want your fucking child back?" That's what he said. "Do you want your fucking child back?" I said, yes, yes." Well, "You have 24 hours to get him in Damas. After that, it will be too late." And shack, he hangs up. So I'm like, woohoo! So I called the Minister of Foreign Affairs. I called the consulate. I called the guy in Damas. I called the guys in Beirut. And I'm like, "I need a visa to go to Damas." And they were like, "No, you can't go. It's too dangerous. If anything happens, we can do it." And I was like, "I've been waiting for this moment for 9.5 years. So you can say anything you want. I'll go. If you agree to protect me, I'll take it. If you don't, go fuck yourself." Sorry for the language, but
It's okay. Yeah.
So what the only thing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs did for me in France is they called the Syrian consulate in Paris, and I had my visa the same day. Usually, it's very it takes a few days. It's a paperwork and everything. And they gave me the visa without asking anything. But there was a war in Lebanon, and 100,000 Lebanese who also had French passport, because many of them have dual citizenship, were waiting at the borders of Syria and Lebanon to board planes to France, and there was no plane tickets. So um, all I could do is book business tickets, and I didn't have the money, so I called my mother, and she made me a check. All this in 24 hours. And then, so I took a two-way ticket for me, a one-way ticket for my son. In the meantime, the French consul in Damas was like, I asked for protection because he called my ex-husband, and he said, "Why do you want the mother to come? Just bring the child to the consulate, and we'll send him to France. It will cost you nothing, and it will avoid, a lot of troubles." And the father said, "If anybody interferes, I'll kill Ryan, I'll kill his mother, and I'll kill myself after that. And I'll
My God.
make a massacre." That's exactly his words. "I'll make a massacre."
Oh, Violaine.
So the
Oh,
council called me and said, "Well, we don't want to get involved, but don't come, don't come." Because he was demanding that I was coming to Damas, going to his place, spend the night at his place, and just leaving the next day. And I didn't have his address. Nobody knew where he was living. So once I was, out of the airport in his hands, nobody could, do something if something happens. So I told the council, "But can't you just put somebody at the airport that follows me? And if I don't get out of the apartment in the morning, you can, call the police or do something." "Oh, no, no, we can't do that. We don't have the personnel." "You know what? I'll do it myself." So I go to Damas. I land around, I don't know, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm pretty much alone in the airport. No Ryan, no father. I call, and the father tells me, we're back in Lebanon. I'm like, is this a joke? In fact, what happened is that when he took Ryan to Damas, he took him with this Lebanese passport. So the Lebanese passport was stamped with an entry stamp to Syria, but I needed the French passport to get out of Syria, and there was no entry stamp, so we couldn't get out with this passport. So he was in Lebanon to come back to Syria with the French passport and get its stamp. So I waited, I don't know, 2 hours in the airport, maybe, waiting for them. Then the car came. He was driving. Ryan was on the back seat, so I go on the back seat with him, and I'm going to hug him and kiss him, and he was just like this in his. He didn't speak. He seems so. I don't. He's prostrated means something in English. Yes, he was like that, and he said, "No, no, no, don't touch me." He had a red eye like this. He was stinking. I learned later that after he decided to come to France, after he told his father he wanted to come to France, and the general said you can't, prevent him. His father took him back to the apartment in Beirut, so he was not in the military camp anymore. He put him under a table in the kitchen with no food and no water for 3 days.
Oh,
The only time I had, because when my husband told me you want your fucking child back, I thought, is this a trick? Is this real? So I tried to call my son, and he was not responding. And finally, the father responded, and I said, I want to talk to Ryan. Before I come, I want to talk to Ryan. And when I talked to him, he had a voice, I mean, that I never heard before. And I said, Mommy, be quick, be quick. Come. No, it's not a trick. Come, or I'll die. And when I saw him in the car, he was in a state of decomposition. I don't know how to tell that. And I was really worried. When his father took him from Lebanon, took him with no clothes, nothing. So he was wearing the same stuff for, days. He didn't have a shower. And he was not fed for 3 days. And he had a red eye like this. And he really looked like homeless people, a homeless person. So we went to the apartment, and the rest of the night, the father tried to convince him not to go. So the Lebanese people, Sarah, they were talking half Arabic, half English, half French. So I could get some stuff, and I was in the kitchen. I was making coffee because I was thinking I don't want to sleep, and I didn't eat anything. I was afraid that the food would be drugged, and at one point, my son came to the kitchen and told me, "Mommy, I think I'm gonna stay because it's becoming very complicated." And then I lost it. I lost it. I said, "What? I came here. Your grandmother spent a fortune for these plane tickets. We have one opportunity that we've been waiting for years. I don't care what happens. You come with me tomorrow and we go to the airport and we get out of here." Yeah, but that he's not happy. It's complicated. He was I think he didn't sleep for 3 days and he was out of his mind. Well, anyway, around 5 o'clock in the morning, a taxi came. His father took us out of the building, and then he pushed Ryan in the taxi, in the back, like a big punch, and he said, "Goodbye, Brutus." Yeah, Brutus, the one who killed Caesar, his father.
yeah.
I mean, so once in the taxi, I mean, I had knots in the stomach, and I couldn't speak. Once in the airport, we hid ourselves. Then I called my friend in Lebanon. She was in a convent praying for us. I said, continue praying, please." And finally, we were very lucky along the way because there was a fee to pay to leave Syria, and it was to be paid only in Syrian pounds. And before I left the house in France, I don't know, I don't even remember who gave me a few coins, saying it's Syrian money. I took them, but and there was exactly, believe me, the 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 count to the cent that I needed to get out of the country.
Wow.
I tell you that miracles happen. I mean, it happens. And then after that, we hid. We were first we hid in a place, and then I thought, we are going to change place because they told me at the consulate that until the plane has takeoff, they can still open the door, take you out, and prevent you from leaving. So I was so afraid, and we went to the airport very much in advance because I didn't want to stay in this apartment. So finally, we board the plane, so business class, and my son had nothing. I mean, his father told him, if you live like you are. You take nothing, not even his books. My son reads a lot, and his treasure is his books, and he wasn't allowed to take his books. He has no clothes anyway. So we board the plane, and then somebody behind me taps my shoulder, and said, "Are you Violaine Delahaye?" I said, "Yes." "Well, I'm the secretary of the council. He wanted to make sure that you were safe.
Oh,
It's about time." Well, we flew to France. When we landed, my husband was waiting for us. My son told me, "I want to go to the hairdresser because we before we go home." And I said, "Well, and we're going to make a stop to buy you some clothes." So we bought some clothes. I took him to the hairdresser, and he had his head shaved. He came to my home, and he threw away everything was on him: his t-shirt, his jean, his socks, his underwear, everything. Not in the laundry bag, in the trash. And that's how he came back. He was really damaged, really
yeah.
really damaged. I've been long. I'm sorry. Well, then after that, it's not easy to rebuild the relationship and everything. We had a relationship because I was visiting Lebanon often, but he was so angry against the adult world. I put him in a school in France, in international school, where he could do a lot of stuff in English. He had to took the French grammar from scratch because he was speaking and understanding very well, but he never did grammar, and it's difficult. And he had to take Arabic as a second language. It's mandatory in France to have a second language, and he was absolutely fluent in Arabic. He never went to one. He went to one or two maybe course at the lycée in Arabic, and then he refused to go. Told me, "I don't want to speak that language." He was rejecting everything, the country, the language, the everything except the food. And it's difficult to reject Lebanese food. So, well, it took us a few years, to. He's 34. He was 15 when he came back. He's 34 today, and I would say that he's been good for maybe 2 years now.
Yeah.
It took that long.
It takes a long time. I know from
Destroyed
yeah.
him. He destroyed him. And I
Yes.
could forgive him for what he did to me because I'm an adult and because it's my fault. I didn't have to marry him, and I take responsibility for everything. But I will never, never forgive him for what he has done to our son. It's not only my son. How can you be so cruel to a child, so destroying, telling him, "You're so ugly, you look like your mother." Um, I mean, these people are not well in the head, really. So it's a very long story, and I could tell you about an hour again about how it went when he was back to France. But he's okay now. That's the main thing. I always knew that my son was smart, and that one day it would come back to
Yes.
to order, And I remember at one point I was desperate, and I thought he would never come back before he was 18. And even then, I thought there are good universities in Lebanon. If he goes to university in Lebanon, what do I do? And at that point, I wasn't praying anymore for his return. I was just praying that he would never become like his father.
Right.
It was
Yes.
my only wish. And it worked.
Oh,
It
yeah.
worked. Yeah.
Wow, what a story of courage and resilience and determination and yeah, you went through so much, Violaine.
I had a lot of damage, me too, I took weight.
Yeah.
At one point, I was smoking like hell. But it has an happy end. It has an happy end, but my son now doesn't want a family. He said he will never have kids. And he was starting to tell me that he was 13, 14, and I thought, okay, he will fall in love and he will want a family later, and I'll have grandkids. And no, no. And
You know,
he's a solitaire. I mean, he has maybe two or three friends in the UK that are very close friends, but he has a tendency to stay home, and he's damaged, even though today is okay. But
From the perspective, just this story is absolutely horrifying. The
yes,
levels of trauma to both you and Ryan, and just the uh, two abductions, him getting snatched by men, in the car, just the trauma, the war, cultural differences, very stark cultural differences, and cultural differences are beautiful, but they also cause extra layers of conflict in
absolutely,
children of abduction. I know that for myself. It's taken me a long time. I'm 55 now to reconcile the my cultures and feel comfortable and feel whole in myself. And just that alone, I can't even imagine if for Ryan, just to reconcile that and to separate the larger cultural heritage that he has from his father as an individual's heritage. And I this whole time, first of all, I feel you as a mother myself, and just it's the what you did, your resilience and perseverance, and just the incredible trauma and insanity of all of it, and the terror, and the times that your life was at risk, and the threats and everything are just absolutely unbelievable. And then just putting myself in Ryan's um
shoes.
shoes and perspective, and I can do that very well to in my own way, but just it's unbelievable, just the conflicts and the trauma and the repeated instances of being put in these awful situations, and where he still loved his father when he was young and he wasn't sure what to do. He loved you, and this is one of the most intense stories of incredible conflict. I imagine him as this, one of those gummy toys, and just being stretched and pulled, and in conflict and in fear, and for so incredibly long. So I would love to speak to your son one day if he would want to talk to me. I don't know if he
Try
would
to
give me.
convince him to talk to you. He doesn't know we were doing this, but he's pretty open. He came to TV with me in France. If I can say one thing more, all these years, at one point I was desperate. I thought I would never see him again and everything. I told you already that. I continued to fight all the
yeah,
time, and I documented everything I did. At one point, when I had to erase, everything on the internet, stop working with NGOs, renouncing to custody everything, I thought, okay, what can I do to show him later that I didn't drop the fight? And I started learning Arabic. for 3 years. And it's crucial. I'm telling you that because when he came back to France, he was angry against all adults. He didn't trust adults. He was saying all the time, "I'll never be an adult. I hate adults." And I offered him to read all there was boxes of documentation that all I did, the facts, the letters, the whatever that I did over all these years, 15 years of fight. It's a lot of paper. And at first he said no. Then one day he said, "I'm ready to read." I put the boxes in his room. He stayed there 3 days. He was showing up just for a glass of water or to eat something. After 3 days, he gave me back all the boxes and he said, "Now I understand." And we never talked about it again anymore. And I would say to the parents, just fight, 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 and keep the proof that you fight, that you never drop the fight. Because when they come back, you really have to show them how much you love them, how hard it was for you, everything you did to try to get him back. Because when they're young, they're thinking, "Oh, why doesn't she come get me?" For a child, they have no idea what justice is and the frontier, the borders, the cultural differences. And I was really making a point of documenting everything I was doing, even with the NGOs, what I was doing for other parents. I spent nights translating orders of justice for the American parents that had kids in France, and to show him how much I was involved. It was all my life for 15 years, and I wanted him to know and to realize, because his father always told, he had no he didn't remember the first abduction because his father just took him on a plane, but
He's
he
too
remembered
young.
when I took him back because there was a fight at school. It was brutal. Then he remembered the second abduction, but his father told him, "I just took you back." So he was confused, really confused when he came back. Who was right, mom or dad? And so I gave him all the boxes, and I didn't read them with them. I left him, just go through the paper. And after 3 days, he gave me everything back, and he said, "Now I understand."
Yeah.
They,
That's really good advice to give to other parents who are searching so that when their child comes back, they
they
can
keep
show
hope,
what they did.
keep hope,
Yeah.
bet everything on the intelligence of your child because they are smart, and document what you do so that
Yes.
you can show them how much they've been missed. Sorry.
Yeah. Ah,
And
Thank you for
Sarah, you're my hero, really,
and you're
yeah.
mine. Me?
oh,
You. Yeah, you, Sarah.
because I mean, you have transformed all this story in such a strength.
Mhm.
I really admire you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I was afraid to face the pain that parents go through for a very long time. So thank you for honoring me with sharing. And yeah, it's a hard, long road. It is
Yeah.
for parents,
Never
for
forget that
children.
the children are going through the same pain. They can't express it because there is a conflict of interest, but they are going through the same pain. And it was so obvious when you were talking to us. So obvious.
Yeah. And we so want for things to be normal. We so want to deny and oh no, everything is fine, everything is good, and I'm fine, and everything is fine. And for the longest time, I tried to pretend things were, and again with my eating disorders and severe suicidality and all these episodes of incredible pain. It was only when I really faced it that I could start to really build my life up, build myself up, build and feel whole. Because we don't feel whole.
And
We
I'm
feel
still
so
in
fragmented.
therapy, I guess, just like you, or you, maybe Abby, I don't know. But I'm still in therapy.
Me too. Me
Yeah.
too.
It's uh,
Proudly so.
such
Yeah.
a deep wound.
It is deep. It is.
I missed 15 years of his life.
and went through so much betrayal and trauma and chaos and loss and just unbelievable. Like you're my hero. You
Yeah.
parents are my heroes and other kids and those of us who are we face it. We're strong enough to face it and to talk about it. And when my mother was going through this so many years ago, there was no network. There were no parents gathering together and supporting one another. She didn't when we reunited in 1987, 88, there was nobody there to explain to one another what some of the issues were so that we could understand each other and to soften some of the intensity of what was going on. So the fact that we're here talking like
Yeah,
this is
it's key.
making is
It's
going to
key.
make such a
Team
difference.
Hope has been key for me and all other NGOs and the parents. I mean,
Yeah.
we were so true with each others. We could cry when we wanted to cry. You can do that at work. You have to wear a mask. But then we were meeting, in all these circumstances, and we could, yell, cry. I remember a party in a hotel room. I mean, the meeting was so sad, but at night we had pizza and we were laughing in the
Yes.
room. And my, my husband, when I told him that, said, "Well, you don't look like a bunch of missing parents, you know? You,
Yeah.
we need some
Yeah.
buffer
Yeah.
sometimes."
We had to
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy to know that as a child who was missing, that you had that together too.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Only with
I wish
other
my mother had
parents, only with other parents in the same
that
Yeah.
situation.
Well, there
to
was
understand.
so
But
much stigma, so much judgment, but when we all got together, there was none of that. There was love and there was kindness and
yeah,
there was
oh,
understanding,
yeah,
and we could finish each other's sentences because we, even though all our stories were different, we knew what it felt like. We knew the horrors of it and the pain and how other people treated us, but we together were strong. We were mama and papa bears. Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have that with the other abducted children. We there's a special bond, no matter
Yes.
how long the abduction lasted or how short, or whether we were pre-verbal when we were taken or not, and from one country to another or from the same country. There's an understanding because this isn't an adoption issue. We can't quite relate to children who are adopted. There's some similarities, but it's not the same. And it's not a stranger abduction, but there are similarities to that too. And so there's something unique,
Yes.
unfortunately unique about dealing with family abduction, and having that understanding is so is saved my life ultimately for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, Violaine, thank you
Yes.
so incredibly not much for your
thanks to you.
Thank
I
bravery.
love
you.
you, girls.
We love you, and
Yes.
this past summer, I was almost in Paris. I was supposed to go to
Oh,
Paris
this
with a
time you
whole
call me, of course.
family connection. Yes, I had to have back surgery instead, so Paris is
I
extra
remember
sweet.
that. I read everything you write. I don't respond
You
many times, but I read everything you write. Yeah, I knew for your surgery. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That's an honor. Well, I'm Paris is still there, and I can't wait to see you in Paris too.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Okay,
My love and best to Ryan too.
thank
And
Yes,
you.
definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely.
and
And thank you. Thank you for being our guest. Thank you for sharing your heart with us and with the audience, and really and I think your word, you're a sign of hope, and your advice is priceless and going to be helpful to so many. Thank you so much, Violaine.
Thank
Yeah.
absolutely,
you.
thank you so
Yeah.
much. And before we end, we sign off. We want to share each week. We are planning on sharing a poster of a child or children who are still missing.
From family abduction.
Family
Yes.
abduction, specifically family
Yes.
abduction cases.
Hmm.
We are going to share. I just need to share my screen.
Yes.
So Abby, should I introduce, these
Yes,
children? Okay.
go
So
ahead. Yeah.
yes, so these are 2 missing children. They are Sarahi and Madison Flores Rosales. They are missing since May 26th of this year, 2025, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and their sisters. They are Sarahi would be 5 now and or is 5 now, and Madison is 3, and they may be in the company of their father. And if they are spotted, you never know. You can call the Tulsa Police Department in Tulsa, Oklahoma, here in the USA at 918 596 9222. Call 911 or call 1-800 The Lost. And they are so sweet and so cute, and we hope for
Yes.
the best. We hope they can feel whole again and come
Eh,
back home.
yes, they're looking to you for help so they
Yes.
can come home. Yes.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again,
Yeah.
Violaine and Abby.
Yes,
Lots of to both of you.
thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Bye for now.
Bye
Bye.
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 Oh.
Oops. There we go.